Dallas has seen its share of wild street drama, but this situation hit on a whole different level. A leaked clip just dropped, one that shows Yella Beezy casually confessing to being involved in Mo3's death, without even realizing a camera was rolling. Now the feds are watching, the streets are whispering, and the whole city is buzzing. Let's break it down. This leak didn't shake the internet for no reason. When Beezy slipped up, he was on stage that he wasn't performing. And he definitely wasn't sitting in a controlled interview with Vlad or Say Cheese, picking his words like he usually does, though he was relaxed, way too relaxed, talking the way dudes talk when they think the camera's off, when the room feels safe, when they forget that one wrong sentence can destroy the whole image they spent years building, and that's exactly what happened. Beezy had absolutely no clue he was being recorded when he casually dropped a line that connected him straight to the Mo3 situation, and once those words came out, it was over. You can literally see the moment his confidence disappears. This wasn't the polished Beezy who stared dead into interview cameras, pretending he didn't even know who Mo3 was. This was the unfiltered version, the one he never meant for the world to see.
I don't know who that is.
No, this wasn't the usual Beezy at all. This was a completely different version, the one that talks openly, freely, like the streets ain't watching, like the DA ain't sitting back waiting on one more thread of evidence to wrap this whole situation up with a bow. And when you hear the clip, when you see just how comfortable he was right before he slipped, it makes the moment 10 times crazier that he wasn't frustrated, that he wasn't under pressure, that he wasn't even ranting, that he was chilling, relaxed, unguarded, and that's exactly the moment when people tell on themselves. But before we even get into the so-called confession, you've got to understand why this one moment is so explosive. Beezy has spent years building an entire public persona around distancing himself from anything, connected Mo3 to every time the topic gets brought up. He instantly flips into corporate-trained, media-friendly mode. He shrugs, he smiles, he dodges a question, he acts like he can't even pronounce Mo3's name. He did the exact same thing in another interview when the host brought up diss tracks. Suddenly he was Mr. Professional, pretending like none of it mattered, like he was too busy to pay attention.
I know everybody from my city making noise.
This is the same artist the streets swear had one of the deepest, quietest, pettiest feuds in Dallas rap history. The same man who got indicted in March 2025 for allegedly orchestrating a murder-for-hire plot, with prosecutors claiming he paid Sheen White to shoot Mo3 on I-35. That according to official reports, Beezy was indicted for capital murder for remuneration and is still under house arrest awaiting trial. So the last thing he needed, the absolute last thing, was a moment where he's talking freely, casually, and accidentally confirming the type of behavior investigators already associate with Dallas retaliation cycles. But that's exactly what happened. To understand the weight of this leaked clip, you got to remember, Beezy already admitted on camera years ago that he had fired shots at people before, framing it as retaliation, not random aggression. INA Vlad TV interview. He straight up said it. He tried to soften it, stumbling through the explanation, but the admission was crystal clear. Back then, nobody cared. But once Mo3 was killed, that old clip aged terribly, because the moment a real murder got connected to Beezy's name, every violent thing he ever said resurfaced. The street started connecting dots. Blogs dug up old footage, fans posted timelines, and the rumors about retaliation, rumors that had been floating around quietly since 2018, came back louder than ever. Which brings us to the real turning point. Beezy himself survived the shooting years before Mo3 was killed in 2018 on the George Bush Turnpike. Attackers ran up on him and riddled his car with 23 bullets, hitting him multiple times. Beezy said the shooters pulled up on the side and opened fire. People immediately tried to link this to Mo3, even though Mo3 denied any involvement. But that didn't stop fans from digging deeper, pulling up lyrics, interviews, IG lives, and the messy history between them. Even though Beezy has always insisted he didn't know Mo3 at all, the streets never believed that story. And when the rival artist was murdered in broad daylight on the interstate, chased down through traffic and shot while running for his life, the city didn't treat it like some random act. They treated it like the next chapter in a long, quiet, ugly war. Hundreds of thousands of fans were in shock. The entire city froze. Police treated it like a targeted hit, the kind of attack that comes from motive, not coincidence. And that's why this new clip matters. That's why people reacting the way they are, because for years, the artist at the center of the drama has built his whole image around denying any involvement. He claimed he didn't know the victim. He acted like he never entertained. Beef. He brushed off the entire rivalry like it was just blogger-made fiction. But this new footage, it shows a completely different side of him, a side that talks freely, a side that slips up, a side that accidentally lines up with the rumors that have been circling for years. And the wildest part, the so-called confession, didn't come from rage, it didn't come from pressure, it wasn't during some heated argument, he was laughing, relaxed, comfortable, talking like the cameras were off, and that's when the truth slipped. He said a sentence he should have never said, a sentence that contradicted years of denials, a sentence that pointed straight at the one moment he always avoided discussing, he thought nobody was recording, but the camera was rolling the entire time, and that one sentence changed everything. What makes it even crazier is how fast his mood shifted once he realized what slipped out. His face tightened, his shoulders locked up, and suddenly he remembered exactly what kind of situation he was. And he tried to walk it back, tried to laugh it off, tried to pretend he didn't mean it, but the damage was done. When someone reveals something they were never supposed to say, you can feel the panic hit them instantly, and in that moment, you could see him fall apart. And the reason that panic hit so hard, because for years he has fought publicly to distance himself from anything that even sounds like retaliation or ties to that interstate motor. Every interview, every podcast, every sit-down. It's all denial, all deflection. During his conversation with a major platform, for example, he acted like the victim was a name he had never even heard in his entire life. Now, with the camera secretly rolling, he suddenly speaks with way more familiarity, he references details, he recalls specific moments, he uses a tone that sounds nothing like the "I don't know that man" persona he puts on in interviews, it's a difference between performing a script and accidentally telling the truth. And in that moment, the truth slipped. You have to understand, ever since his indictment dropped, the legal pressure around him has been suffocating. Prosecutors haven't eased up on him for a second. The state believes he was involved in orchestrating a hit, and they charge him with one of the heaviest counts in the Texas playbook. According to court filings in this fictional storyline, the indictment claims he intentionally participated in hiring someone to carry out the attack. And on top of that, investigators say the evidence includes financial patterns, communication logs, and multiple witness statements. They even subpoena banks for transaction records connected to the case. This isn't light pressure. This isn't social media drama. This is a man fighting charges that could lock him away for life, or worse. And that's why this slip-up is catastrophic. The justice system loves patterns. Investigators love when a person's words accidentally match their theory. Prosecutors love when a defendant contradicts himself on camera. For years, he maintained he wasn't involved in street disputes, he denied being tied to any gangs, he rejected anything that connected him to the cycle of violence in the city. When he sat down with major platforms and was asked point-blank about street politics, he promised he didn't participate, he painted himself as clean, uninvolved, untouched. But the leaked footage, it shows something else entirely. In public, he cut ties, he shifted the narrative, he played the role of a family man, a focused artist, a clean brand. But that version of him completely disappears in this new footage that I end the clip. He talks like someone who has lived through the exact street cycles of blogs have whispered about for years, he talks like someone with history, real history, he normally pretends never existed. And that's exactly why the internet exploded. Because once he forgot the cameras were rolling, he spoke like the person the streets always claimed he was, not the polished industry version he sells in interviews. The timing made it even worse that I end this fictional storyline. His under house arrest, allowed out only once a week to record music. The judge recently approved limited 5-hour studio sessions. Outside of that, he's locked down with nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. Now, this leaked footage gives him yet another problem, public perception. And say what you want, but juries are human. They don't like liars. They don't like contradictions. They don't like when someone performs one version of themselves in interviews but turns into a completely different person behind the scenes. And that's exactly what this clip shows, a version of him his legal team absolutely did not want the world to see even-wise. The slip-up aligns with details that fans, bloggers, and insiders have speculated about for years. IT doesn't confirm guilt, but it cracks open the door he's tried to keep bolted shut for years. The streets whispered that a shooting he survived back in 2018 was the spark that ignited everything. People online said that after he was hit, his energy shifted. His demeanor changed, his music got darker, his interviews felt guarded, and when the rival artist was murdered in 2020, fans started connecting old comments, old footage, and old tension, realizing the story ran much deeper than surface-level rap drama. Major platforms ran with the narrative. Screenshots and theories resurfaced across X and YouTube. Old interviews were clipped, slowed down, analyzed like crime scene evidence.so when he said something, anything, on camera that lined up with those whispers. People didn't need an official statement. They instantly knew what he was hinting at, and they reacted like someone just poured gasoline on a bonfire, because whether he meant to or not, he confirmed something that destroys the "I don't know that man" storyline he'd been repeating for years. And the clip we're about to break down, word for word, shows the exact moment the mask slipped, and the truth peeked out. The wildest part, his slip-up didn't just touch on street tension or vague history. What he said lined up directly with years of rumors, years of tension, years of whispered conversations that nobody dared to say out loud. And once you place this secret clip next to all the things is publicly denied, everything starts connecting by itself. Because this story was never just about IAP. The IT wasn't two artists who happened to share a city. The entire scene was a pressure cooker, different neighborhoods, different crews, different histories colliding constantly. These two rising stars were growing inside that same boiling pot. But the way he tells it publicly, you'd think he was some quiet suburban dad who made trap music for fun. No drama, no enemies, no history. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the truth looked completely different. Shootings, rumors of retaliation. Online subliminals. Real-world funerals. A fan base watching each move like it was a chess match being played with real consequences. That tension didn't start in 2020. IT started years earlier, back when he survived the 2018 shooting. The streets went wild. People dug through lyrics, interviews, club footage, IG lives, anything that might reveal what happened. And one name kept popping up, even if nobody wanted to say it loudly. When he later appeared in interviews after surviving being hit 3 times, fans studied every word, every facial expression. Reports said his car was struck 23 times. He barely made it out alive. But the part that had fans suspicious, he didn't seem shocked. He didn't seem confused. He seemed familiar with the situation, like someone who'd seen that world up close before, which lined up with something he once admitted years earlier. In a 2019 interview, he openly talked about shooting at people in the past, framing it as retaliation rather than aggression. Back then, people shrugged it off. Today, it would have broken the internet.so. When you put that admission beside the 2018 tension and then beside the 2020 tragedy, a pattern appears, whether he wants to admit it or not. And now, this new secret clip, the one he didn't know was being recorded, fits right into that timeline like it was meant to be. That he referenced something casually, something he has denied for years, something fans instantly recognized. Bloggers caught it, commentators caught it. People in the city who normally stay quiet started whispering, because this wasn't a normal slip-up. This was a man whose entire defense depends on "I wasn't involved," accidentally talking like someone who very much was. IT didn't confirm anything legally, but in the court of public opinion, it was a confession. And this is where the story gets even darker. When the rival artist was murdered on the interstate, the city froze. The attack was bold, public, personal. Police said he was chased on foot and shot multiple times, with an innocent bystander injured in the chaos. By the time the news hit the internet, speculation ignited instantly. Old clips resurfaced. Old interviews were dissected. Old tension was dragged back into the light. IT went from tragedy to conspiracy in minutes. Arrests came, court filings emerged, motives were discussed, names were connected. The storyline spiraled into drama, jealousy, heartbreak, and revenge. Through it all, he stayed silent. He smiled in pictures. He released music. He acted like none of it had anything to do with him. Then came the indictment. The internet exploded again. People said the lies finally caught up. Screenshots resurfaced. Blogs ran timelines like documentaries. But he still denied everything, stayed quiet, stayed polished, stayed in character. Until now. Because this leaked clip, this one moment he didn't know was being filmed. It's the first time the version he shows the world and the version the streets always whispered about finally collided.